I told you, I promised you, the best anime dads is here. It took about 3 or 4 videos to get to it after we did the worst dads in anime, and I'll chuck that up on the screen. Heavily suggest go giving that one a watch before we get into the best anime dads, simply because there's a few repeats that make it onto both lists. If you want to know my thought process on it all, please go back and watch the worst anime dads. I decided to start with the negative first so we could finish it out on a positive. It's one of those things though. Good anime dads and bad anime dads. There's not as many of them as you might think with how many anime there is in the world. Once again though, I'm not an encyclopedia of anime. If you guys have any best dads that you think I've missed, please leave it down in the comments. But let's get on with this video. We're going to start off straight away. We've got Zeph from One Piece. Now, let's start off let's cut right there. I'm a One Piece anime YouTuber, then an anime YouTuber, and then whatever else I please. So a lot of these characters are One Piece. If you've got a problem with it, come and fight me. I just reckon Oda does a fabulous job of writing good dads. He also has a great job at writing like awful dads, like Judge, and he's even better at writing dead mothers. But maybe we'll do a mother list in the future. Maybe Mother's Day coming up later this year. But we've got Zeph from One Piece, one of the few characters on this list that isn't actually a biological dad of a character. He is the pseudo/stepdad of Sanji. Sanji's real dad, though, the one Sanji cares about the most. So we've got Best Dad, S rank, the tippy top of what you can be. A for Amazing Dad, B for a Great Dad. Yeah, I know, there's not much creativity with these top three. C for Good for an Anime Dad. And then D, Good but has faults. This one, just like our best dad, our worst dad's tier list, sorry, is kind of like the ambiguous character a little bit. We'll get into that more later on into the video, though. From what I can see so far, a lot of these characters will be up more on this top tier to start with. Now, we have Zeph. What does he do for his son, Sanji? Well, he does a goddamn lot. Before he even considered him a son, he sacrificed his leg for him, which was a representation of his power, because like Sanji, all his power revolved around his kicking strength. So he sacrificed his leg, he sacrificed ever being a pirate again, to save a child that shared the same dream as him. So Zeph, found a connection with Sanji. And we need to, that obviously plays a part. Obviously, he's not in his dad mode there, but I reckon that carries through. The points that he got by saving Sanji, by starving himself for a month so Sanji could survive, it definitely goes to his being a good dad. Now, he's not an S tier dad. He does, he's a man of his times, Zeph. He doesn't communicate his emotions the best. And it leads to an antagonistic relationship with Sanji for a lot of the series. That can evolve even kicking him through tables and calling him an idiot, which isn't the healthiest when you look at a realistic dad from the 21st century, which I'm trying to judge a lot of these characters are, but also with the knowledge of being understanding that these are fantasy worlds. So for right now, I'm actually going to put him in a great dad, a B tier dad, but I am inclined to potentially move that up depending on where we go with this. If you haven't already noticed, these are all off the cuff. They're not scripted at all, so I don't have a list in mind of how these should look. We're kind of playing it by ear, and I'm shooting this shit and deciding where they go, in the moment type of thing. But we have Capone Gang Beiji next, another One Piece character. I promise they're not all lined up together, even though the first three are. Where to put him? A mafia boss. You'd think just from that, good for an anime dad type of thing. But he's actually quite sweet to his son, who carries around a cigar pacifier. He's very lovely towards him. He's a very great husband as well, very good to his wife. And you know what? I think I'm going to put him as a great dad as well, and I'm probably going to put him above Zeph. I don't think that the love they have for their kids is, I don't think Zeph loves Sanji less than Capone loves his son. But just because Capone we see he doesn't have, well, I should say Beiji, doesn't, have those negatives that comes along with the parental love that Zeph has. So I reckon Capone Gang Beiji is a better dad than Zeph. I'm forgetting his child's name. Let me know down in the comments. I'm completely blanking on it. But the fact that a mafia boss is like such a sweetheart of a dad and a husband, Oda really knows how to write his characters. And in terms of well-written characters, we have Tom. Now, the list is starting off a very we've done two tier lists before on this channel, but we've never had three characters in the same tier to begin with. I'm going to put him as a great dad as well. I'm going to put him, oh, you know what, I'm going to put him as the top of great dad. Once again, guys, these three might change. We might put them up depending on where these other characters sit. But Tom, the leading shipbuilder of Tom's workers, father to, well, like Zeph, a stepfather, an adoptive father of Iceberg, who was known as Cuddy Flam at the time, and Iceberg. Now, why do I reckon he's better than he is? Simply because we see more of his relationship with his two boys compared to Beiji. Beiji, we only see a few scenes, but we definitely get a feel of what type of dad he is. But Tom not only loves his two kids, he also is incredibly prevalent in inspiring their dreams. He doesn't make fun of them. He doesn't think they're silly. He supports them wholeheartedly. And we see that with Frankie, where he'll even punch Frankie because of what he's saying about the ships that he made. And Tom goes on to say, you can, no matter what this ship does, you can never hate it. You can never want to discard it because these are your children. You have created them. I'm sorry, Frankie's not on this list. Oversight on my part. But Tom really goes into a deep philosophy here that he teaches his kids. That, when you create something with your hands, you need to love it because no one else will. Not true, but we get his general sentiment here. And the love that he can have for, these inanimate ships that he makes definitely carries through to his love of his children. He sacrifices his life for his children. He knows that they're dead to rights here, and he starts raging and starts attacking people to bring all the blame on himself to try and get his two boys off the hook. The more I'm talking about it, I'm going to move him up a tier, guys. We're going to put him as an amazing dad. There we go. Not all in one tier. That was really messing with my mind. But next up, we have the dad of all dads, I guess you could say, Adam from Record of Ragnarok. Oh, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Amazing Dad and the top of Amazing Dad. The only reason he's not in S tier as a dad, even though he's the father of all of us, if you're inclined to go down a biblical route, is that we don't see his one-on-one interactions with his kids, with Cain or Abel, or even any of humanity, who technically he would be a grandfather to. We're not doing the best grandfather lists. Should we do that in the future? I reckon we should. I'm going to put that in the pipeline. But we see his love that he has for humanity of, who he says something along the lines of, do I need a reason to stand up to my children? Like Tom, he also sacrificed his life for his kids. Once again, he's not the biological father of them, but it's the way he sees them. So I definitely think that we have Adam up there as an amazing dad. Anyone who sacrificed their life for their kid, in my opinion, has to be an amazing dad. Not saying that these two down here wouldn't. We see what Zeph does do for Sanji. He just doesn't show the love afterwards in a particularly healthy way, I guess you could say. But yeah, Adam, we don't see too much. A lot of it is just the lore and what he's saying. I would love to see more of those personal interactions. But for what we do get to see, for what he did for humanity, for how much love that he had for everyone, willing to sacrifice himself, I think he has to be an amazing dad. He's ahead of Tom just because of the sheer scope of what he's able to accomplish. But, they're very neck and neck here in this tier. We're going back to a One Piece character. You know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to move this one down here. We'll talk about Kuma a little bit later, I reckon. Just so we're not doing all One Piece at once. We have Dr. Hirouk. Oh, now this one here, the closest guy I think he's connected to is Zeph. because he very much loves his kid. Everything that he has for Chopper. See, he sacrifices his life for Chopper, but let me cook. Let me cook. Dr. Hero Look rescues Chopper as while he's like a stray reindeer, and he strips naked, arms spread. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm a doctor. He heals Chopper. He names Chopper. He gives Chopper his iconic hat, and he lives with Chopper and becomes Chopper's dad. Now, as time moves forward, it's more clear to him that he's gonna die. He's got a sickness, and he doesn't want Chopper to see him waste away like this. So he, not the best, he kicks Chopper out. He yells threatening things to him. He says, "You're nothing but a monster." He shoots a gun at him to scare Chopper away. Now, he does it in the way he's interpreting it is that he's doing this for Chopper's own good. But, we can't be doing that to our kids. Let's face it. There are more healthy ways that this conversation could have gone. But then, on the flip side, Chopper brings back the mushroom for Hirolik, and I'm blanking on what the mushroom is called. Let me know down in the comments. That would be a good trivia question. The mushroom that killed Hirolik. And Hirolik sees that it's poison, but he eats it willingly, because he knows he doesn't have much time to live, and he sees how beat up and how much Chopper pushed himself to get this for him. So he eats the poison willingly, just so he doesn't disappoint his son. And then even more than that, he goes to Wapple's mansion to blow, I don't want to say that on YouTube, to unalive himself through explosive ways. And he does that so Chopper's poison isn't the one that kills him. That whole sequence there, that's like an S tier dad. But the way he handles the situation is not the best. He sacrifices his life for his son, which Zeph doesn't do, but we all know Zeph would do that. So I don't want to put that too much in Hirolik's favor to beat Zeph. I would probably say with what Hirolik does to Chopper in terms of really kind of, pushing him away aggressively and everything that came with that, and hurting his self-worth and his pride and everything, and he's, causing Chopper to have a bit of self-loathing and everything. I think it probably does more damage to Chopper than it does to Sanji, just because Sanji's a little bit older and Zeph probably doesn't go in as hard. So I'm going to put Hero Look below Zeph. We potentially might bring Hero Look down for good for an anime dad, but we'll wait. We'll see where this goes. We've got Jiraiya next. Now, Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin from Naruto, the first character that has appeared on both lists, both the best and the worst anime dads, and now the best anime dads. Now, this is a character that can also be in the list of the best mentors in anime, which we'll definitely do in the future. Just with the best best grandpas, best mums, we'll do it all. We're a family channel here. We do all of them. But where do we put him? Now, if you watch my bad anime dads, you know why I ranked him pretty lowly, Jiraiya. He has to either be good but has faults, or good for an anime dad. And I'm actually going to put him as good but has faults. I'm not going to go too deep into it, just because you have to watch the other video for it. I'm just going to be repeating myself. He doesn't appear in Naruto's life all the way up until Naruto is about 12 to 13. Yes, he couldn't be there the whole time, but all Naruto needed to know as a kid was that there was someone there for him. Jiraiya could write Naruto letters. Every few months he could come back and take him out to ramen. Despite everything Naruto went through, he was quite an emotionally intelligent boy, and he would know that Jiraiya is doing the best that he can. And that's all Naruto really needed, just to see that someone did care about him. And Jiraiya didn't do that. Now, yes, he probably has his reasons, depression over his lost students, of his friend betraying the village, but it still wasn't the best mood for the godfather of Naruto, and I think it is a bit of a fault of his. Another fault is the way he kind of prioritizes his research, in quotation marks, over kind of Naruto. Yes, at the end of the day, he'll buckle down and will teach Naruto stuff, but it's not the best in terms of parenting. Taking him to brothels and everything is questionable as well, even though Naruto is a shinobi. His training over the time skip as well wasn't as productive as it could be. I'm not taking anything away from Jiraiya's death because it's one of the most emotional scenes in fiction. But in terms of being a specific parent to Naruto, he was good for when he was there, but he definitely had his faults, I reckon. Next, we have Joseph Joestar, another one that will probably be in the D tier, but uh, where to put him? I'm going to leave him in D for now. The simple reason is because I'm actually going to put Shikaku at C. Now, we'll get to Shikaku in a second, but just to see the difference here between these two tiers, I think that might be important. Joseph Joestar, not the best grandfather. Jotaro never really saw him and didn't really know anything about him, so he didn't visit often. So we know that he wasn't too much in his daughter's life, but he did fight the most powerful being in the world, at least at that time, and traveled the whole globe to make sure that his daughter survived. So he obviously cared about her tremendously. He just wasn't someone that showed it very much. Yes, he was all lovey-dovey and goo-goo gaga over his daughter, but he didn't show up that much. Yes, she was a grown woman, but we can kind of get the sense of who Joseph was and the responsibilities that he was probably carrying for the world, which would make him not the best active father, but everything he did do for his daughter definitely, I think, earns him a place on this list. I also just love talking about JoJo characters, so a little bit of bias as well. He could have been another one that maybe even entered that list of bad and good dads. But for me, I'm going to put him above Jiraiya, just because we probably do see more paternal love from Joseph than we do Jiraiya. Now, Shikaku, good for an anime dad. The reason I'm putting him here, that title might be a little bit misleading as well. We also just have to take in the C rank of being just a great dad. The reason he's in that tier, though, is because we don't see too much of him. We know he's a very stern man, and that he's very much all about giving hard lessons to Shikamaru, which is definitely needed. He plays a very important role at the failure of the first Sasuke retrieval mission, where he speaks to Shikamaru about, you can give up now and go and wallow in self-pity, but your comrades are going to go out on more missions with different team squad leaders, and you might not be there to help them from being killed. So that's the risk that you're taking there by walking away from all this. And he's able to convince Shikamaru, his son, to stay on being a shinobi. But the other really important scene that we have from him, and it's one of the best scenes in one of the best scenes in just all of fiction. You know what? I'm putting him up here. I'm putting him as a great dad. Where Azuma, Shikamaru's shinobi sensei, had just died by the Akatsuki. And Shikamaru, he's trying to play it tough. He's trying to be the cool, rational one of the group, where he's going to take the shoulder of that burden upon himself and not let it get to him. But then a few days after Asuma's funeral, he's playing shogi with his dad. Shogi is the game they both love to play, kind of like chess to a Western audience. And they're playing, and Shikaku's going on about how Azuma was a great guy, wasn't he? But he just wasn't strong enough. And they're playing shogi, and Shikamaru's putting the piece down more harder than he was before. You can tell that he's getting annoyed, but Shikaku keeps going on, and Shikamaru knocks the shogi pieces off the table, and he gets up and he screams at his dad, like, "What do you want from me? What is wrong? I know you think I'm a failure. I know you think I'm a loser. Just let it go. Drop it." And Shikaku jumps up as well. He's like, "I don't think that about you, son. I don't think that about you at all." And Shikamaru's like, "What then?" And his dad just looks at him and just says, "Let it out." And Shikamaru, the drawing here and the voice acting is superb. Kind of steps back a little bit. His throat tightens, and his dad continues. Shikaku continues where he goes, "All that grief, all that hurt that you're feeling, all that anger, you need to let it out, son. It is going to destroy you." And then, this scene really gets me emotional. There's another one coming up as well that does it to me. But Shikamaru just breaks down crying. He goes to his knees. He's wailing in just despair and sadness and grief. And Shikaku just walks out quietly and just says to him, so Shikamaru can hear, like, I'll always be there for you, son, if you need anything. So just a fabulous dad. He can even go in. You know what? I can't even believe I put him in C. What was I talking about? If anyone clicked off because of that reason, I'm sorry. But we need to put him at the top of great dad. I've literally talked myself into it. He would be an amazing dad tier, but we just don't know enough about him and his relationship with Shikamaru. We only really have those two scenes, and they're quite short and brief. But oh, just an amazing dad. Shikamaru breaking down and then formulating his plans on how he's going to beat Hidan on Kokuzu with the discarded shogi piece. It is a beautiful piece of art. Truly, truly, Kishimoto went above and beyond in that scene. Now we have Makarov Dreyer from Fairy Tail. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put him good for an anime dad. We'll let him take Shukaku's spot. Let's see if we can maybe talk our way into another ranking for him. A character that I really love, a character that actually shares a lot of similarities as the next person that we have up, in the sense that Makarov considers everyone in the Fairy Tail Guild his family, his children. Now, a lot of the time it is his children. A lot of them look at him as a grandfather. Some of them look at him as a dad, though, as well. He also has a biological son and a grandson. And his love that he has for his Fairy Tail Guild, all the members there, is truly, truly beautiful and immense. You know, he happily risks his life and will sacrifice his life for his children, like we see against the Black Dragon Acnologia. The reason why I'm not going to put him as a great dad is because his relationship with his own son, Ivan, really did slip through his fingers. Not necessarily his fault. We do have some children where, you know, we can do the absolute best we can in terms of parenting, and they just get, you know, caught up in a wrong crowd and stuff like that and go downhill. There's no, like, you know, we don't have all the information on there, so we can't go two-footed in criticizing Makarov. His relationship with his grandson is also very tense in the beginning half of the show. Once again, not necessarily Makarov's fault, probably a lot to do with Ivan, Luxus's father. But and to Makarov's credit, he eventually turns the relationship with his grandson around, which I really love to see. But I'm going to put him in C tier just because he has a lot of pros, but also some cons to him. I will say those cons are a little bit ambiguous at this stage, so he could deserve to be higher. But for right now, we're going to put him as good for an anime dad. But now we have someone that's very similar to Makarov in terms of having a bunch of children that aren't his biological children and looking upon them all as sons, but does it even better. Whitebeard. S tier dad. S tier dad. I don't know if it's controversial, but Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, the world's strongest man, is a fantastic father. Loves all his crew members. We see his closest relationships with his division commanders, but he loves all his crew members. He loves all his allies as if they were his children. We know even from when he was a young man, all he wanted, he didn't concern himself with treasure or fame. All he wanted was to have a family. This is a family man that we have here. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's some children that he have that go down the wrong path. People like Blackbeard. But I don't consider that Whitebeard's fault. Like, there was a lot going on with Blackbeard, and I don't judge Whitebeard for that. Even when he gets stabbed by his own son's squad, he literally just hugs him and says he forgives him, and then jumps down and is positive about it. He quips and stuff. He's like, "Oh, the Navy really got us good there, didn't they? But to think I would ever betray any one of my sons, ridiculous!" And he uses the tremor fruit. He cracks the air around him. He shatters the ice that's trapping all his crew members inside, letting them escape if they want, if they've lost faith in Pops And he goes, if you call yourself a pirate and you want to follow me, then charge into battle. And he's running off. And, there's no one, not one of his allies, not one of his crew members that turns their tail. They all know that this man loves them unquestionably, and they charge with him. I reckon Whitebeard, I'm going to spoil it here. I reckon he's the best dad in fiction. One of my favorite characters of all time. You can't see it in the background, but I've got a big display case here that has a massive figurine of him. Just absolutely love him. He's one of those characters, not many characters can do it in fiction, but that can just appear and immediately capture my interest and like of them. And, Whitebeard's a top 5 One Piece character, probably a top 3 One Piece character, even potentially the best One Piece character. Just a great, great character. I love it when we see all these paths with Roger and Rox. Another character to give you kind of that same tier of character that really got me like that in like one arc where they had no right to with the amount of screen time they had, Rengoku from Demon Slayer. Oh my god, an amazing character. Him and Whitebeard are probably the two that grabbed my attention the most. But we have the next character that appeared on both the Bad Dads list and the Good Dads list. We have Isshin Kurosaki. Oh, now, is he a good for an anime dad, which he can still be better than like a realistic dad from our world, or is he a great dad? For right now, I'm going to put him as a great dad, and we're going to leave him there for now, but we might move him as we discuss him. He's definitely the best out of the big 3 dads. He's present in Ichigo's life every day. He does all those fatherly duties that a lot of people overlook. I've got kids myself, so things like, getting your kids ready for bed, making sure your kids are fed, listening to your kids' problems, picking your kids up from school, supporting your kids. He does all of that, everything a dad needs to do. Out of all these characters on this list, he's probably the one that we see the most that kind of tackles those family responsibilities the best. The only downside that he has to him, I'm going to overlook the drop kicking to Ichigo. One, because that's kind of their love language, if you want to call it that, but also, it's a bit of a gimmick. It's a bit for humor, so I'm not going to judge him too hard on that. But his biggest flaw is not telling Ichigo who he was. I understand waiting until he awakens his power, but he really needed to be told. Ichigo not having that level of information really crippled him in the future in terms of some of the dangerous situations he got into. And I really reckon that needed to be discussed with him. Oh, he's... Where to put him? He trains with his son when his son needs it. He's easily willing to risk his life for his child. He has to be in a B-tier dad. Is he? Where would he go here? Like all these characters other than... I wouldn't say Shukaku has any faults of a dad. Him being stern, I don't necessarily equate to being a bad dad, especially with the world that they're living in. Beiji has no flaws. Zeph and Hiruluk definitely do. I'm going to put him above these two, I reckon. He's below these two just because he doesn't have any flaws like these two do. Of course, these two would have actual flaws, but from what we see in the short amount of time we see them on screen. His positives probably outweigh Zeph and Hiruluk, though, in the sense of he's been with his child from the moment he was born. And that doesn't necessarily equate to how great of a dad you can be, but just if we're being nitty-gritty and how we're judging them. He also doesn't physically harm him like Zeph. I'm not including the drop kicking. Or Hiruluk, how he physically harms Chopper. So I reckon this is a good spot for Isshin. Next we have Cobra, and this is going to be another one in good for an anime dad. We can probably put him down here at the end of it. I reckon Makarov's probably on paper a better dad, even though Cobra doesn't have any flaws. We don't see too much of him. We see that the love that he has for his country, but we all... No, you know what? I'm going to put him above Makarov. But we see that the love he has for Vivi, where he will follow Vivi around, not in so much a creepy way, but in the sense of he's letting the crown princess, travel out of the castle unsupervised type of thing. He's giving her her freedom, but he and Igaram want to follow her just to make sure nothing happens, which I can totally respect. And he not only does that, but he'll do things like where Pal strikes Vivi. Pal the Falcon slaps Vivi because Vivi almost got herself, once again, I don't want to use the words for YouTube, but she almost, um, lit some, there was a massive explosion and she almost got caught up in it and it was her fault. So out of concern and, at the rush of the moment, he smacked Vivi. And Igaram went up to go and, like, chastise him. But Cobra, his own daughter, he's like, no, 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 wait, Igaram, let's see how this plays out. And he doesn't jump to conclusions like so many characters in fiction do. He just lets it play out. He gives Vivi the, a level of respect and freedom that a lot of dads don't. But he does it in a way that isn't also letting her, isn't reckless, isn't just being neglectful. So the way he unconditionally loves Vivi and trusts her, like trust is such an important part for a parent that a lot don't give. A lot of parents can be very overbearing. And he even trusts Vivi to be able to go out and infiltrate Baroque works. And, that faith pays off. Vivi's able to meet the Straw Hats, bring the Straw Hats to Alabaster, and they're able to save it together. So a very, very good dad, potentially a great dad. But for right now, we'll just keep him. No, he has to be a good dad. He has to be like all these positives that we're saying. The way he gives trust to his kid, but also gives them lets them know that he'll always be be there for them is such a honorable trait for a dad. Jesus, I don't know if I'm about to do this. I'm gonna put him right behind Shikaku, I think. The reason being is because all these, and this is what I mean talking myself into things, all the positives I think outweigh these three. These three have a couple of negatives with them, which Cobra doesn't. He also is able to show on screen a lot more fatherhood than Beiji does, so he's above Beiji. Um, you know what I'm going to do? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch this list up a bit. We're going to put Beiji down here. I know you might be thinking, well, Jack, why don't these three below Beiji go there? The reason I'm putting Beiji here is just because we don't see enough of him as a parent. We only see that he's a doting father, and so I'm going to put him good for an anime dad. Technically speaking, he could be an S tier dad. We just don't get to see it. We get to see more acts of fatherhood of these three, even though they have faults. So I'm going to put Beiji down here, I reckon. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with the decision I just made there. Cobra could technically be above Shikaku as well in the sense of he doesn't show any on-screen faults the way Shikaku might, if you want to even say might. The only reason I'm putting Shikaku above him is because he has just two fabulous moments with... should I do it? Should I do it? Shikaku, you're getting bumped up. We're going to put Shikaku in A, Amazing Dad. It's just how much I rate those two scenes that he has with Shikamaru. Once we rank these characters, maybe I'll bring him back down. For right now, though, I'm going to keep him in A, Amazing Dad, and Cobra over here. Cobra just doesn't have any of those fatherhood moments that hit as hard as Shikaku's. Next, we have Thor's. Oh, is he S or is he a top of A? Ooh, which one should he go? I'm gonna put him in S tier, honestly. Let's leave him there. A great father, a warrior, a Viking. So we would, from preconceptions, we would think that he's quite a brutal father, all about training and getting stronger and being a warrior. But we can see that he's a very sensitive man and a very intelligent man with how he sees the world. He's more of a philosopher than he is a warrior. And he imprints and teaches that onto Thorfinn. And it's not until Thorfinn gets older and experiences all these hardships that he's really able to interpret and understand his dad's words. So Thor's really sets his son's life on track post-mortem. So not only does he sacrifice himself for his son, yes, he sacrifices himself, he also is able to help him post-mortem, which is just an amazing thing here. the way he stands so like tall and proud and just so unquenching in his resolution, I guess you could say, to protect his son is just so admirable. Teaching his son such important lessons in life, both in life and afterlife. He's an S tier dad. I'm not going to put him above Whitebeard just because we don't see enough of him, at least in the anime. Let me know in the manga if he's explored a little bit more. But yeah, a top tier dad. Above these ones here, just because we see the direct love that he has for his kid a little bit more, it's a little bit more obvious than we see with these three. And just how he's able to help his son both in life and afterlife. It's, yeah, great, great dad. I'm not sure how many of you will remember this next one, but we have Genzo from Arlong Park in One Piece, Nami's stepdad. So once again, one of those few dads on this list that aren't biologically related to their child. Um, uh, at first we think C tier, just from the tier of character that Genzo is. He's not a super popular character. But I'm gonna put him just below Cobra. Him and Cobra are essentially tied though. Um, so what do we know about him? We know that he's not the father of Bellamy, Nami's mum, but he takes care of Bellamy as well to a certain extent. Kind of like a benefactor in a little way. And he takes care of her kids. Now, they don't live in the same house, but he certainly takes care of them even when Bellamy is still there. He's helping the kids out a lot, taking them back up to Bellamy's, trying to teach them lessons, trying to be the male role model that they might need in their life. And when Arlong and the Fisherman Pirates come into town, come knocking, he willingly gives up 200,000 or 100,000, I believe it is, berries to cover Bellamy because he knows that she doesn't have enough money for Nojiko and Nami, and he does that out of the goodness out of his heart. And we know that this man isn't like a rich man, so that's a very nice thing that he's done there as well. But then he willingly fights the fishman while everyone else is running after they attack the town. Genzo gets back up and Kurobi cuts him down. That's how he gets all the scars that we see on his face. But he does that because Arlong is trying to take Nami away, and he steps up and tries to protect her. And even cut to ribbons, he's still conscious and still trying to claw his way over. Now, we don't see it too much on screen. We see that he still obviously cares for Nami, because he convinces the whole town to not let Nami know that they all are aware what Nami has done, that she's not actually betrayed the village just for money, that she is planning to buy back Kokoyashi village for them. But he doesn't want Nami to know that, because he thinks that if Nami knows, she'll never leave and just run away from Arlong, because that she would think that the townspeople are depending on her. And that's such deep level of thought there from him that I wouldn't have even considered, really. So such a deep understanding there, just like Cobra does with his trustfulness and respect for Vivi. A great, great dad. We don't see it on screen, but we can imagine he was there a lot for Nojiko as she was growing up. She had no one after her sister was taken and her mother was killed. So I'm definitely going to put him in a great dad tier. If we saw on screen with certainty how good he was to Nojiko, like off screen, he might even be above Cobra, but for right now we're going to keep him under Cobra here. Now we have the last member on this list who was on the bad dad list as well. And you might be thinking, Jack, how can you say that? How can Minato Namikaze be a bad dad? Go watch that video to find out. To sum it up in a sentence or two, him summoning, him trapping Kurama the Nine-Tailed Fox in Naruto and the effects that have on Naruto's life, that is the reason he was in. I obviously go more into it on my bad dads list. He was in the ambiguous category. Please go give that one a watch. I reckon it was a very good video. But for this, S tier or amazing. S tier or amazing. Oh, you see, there are a few other heavy hitters here that are up there as well. I am going to put him at top of Amazing Dad. The reason I'm doing that is because I don't think you can make the worst dads in anime lists and then be an S rank in the best anime dads list. He sacrifices himself for his son, which is just that scene. Um, is another one of those, like, best scenes in anime. The way him and Kushina just throw themselves in front of Kuruma's claw and get impaled, and they're bleeding over Naruto, and they're saying all these loving words and caring words to just baby Naruto and saying how much he's loved. And then the scene where, once again, like Thor's, he helps Naruto post-mortem, where he stops Naruto from ripping off the seal and releasing Kuruma. And he has these words, and he says to Naruto to, make this a little bit quicker, guys. He says that isn't it a father's duty to unconditionally believe in their son? Fantastic lines from Minato there. Like that scene, the scene where him and Kushina throw themselves in front of Kuruma, Shikaku's scene here with Shikamaru over the shogi board, and Jiraiya's death. They're some of the best scenes just in all of anime, all of fiction. They're fabulous scenes. And I reckon we have to put Minato in the top of 8 here. Now we've got Maze Hughes. Oh, where to put him? You know what we're going to do? We're going to cheat. We're going to do Igneel first, and we're going to put him in good for an anime dad. We're going to probably put him maybe at the top of it, simply for the fact of maybe below Beiji, actually. So Makarov has faults. Beiji, we just doesn't have faults, but we don't see enough of. Igneel has a couple of faults like Makarov, but a great dad. We see how much he cares for Natsu, even though he knows Natsu's relationship with Zeref. He knows that, who Naruto is. He trains Naruto. He trusts Naruto with dragon slaying magic that could potentially kill him. He takes care of, sorry, not Naruto, Natsu, if I said that. He takes care of Natsu. He teaches him to read and write as best he can. He makes sure that he's always fed. He warms Natsu up when he's cold. He's there for Natsu when no one else can be. A fabulous dad to him. The only dad on this list that is a different race to his son. Who knew a dragon could be such a great dad? The only reason he's further down on this list is because he seals himself in Natsu, and he does it for good intentions. That's why he's above Makarov. He does it so that he can give Natsu antibodies, so Natsu doesn't get taken over by dragification through the dragon slaying magic. I know that was a mouthful. Go watch Fairy Tail, you won't regret it. Maybe you will, but watch it with a very open mind about it being a little bit wacky. And that's a good thing that Igneel did there. He sacrificed his life for Natsu. The reason, though, I'm putting it down here is just because he didn't tell Natsu what he was doing. I don't see any reason why he couldn't have informed Natsu beforehand. I call it a little bit more of a plot hole, but he makes Natsu look for him for like 10 years, and it's something that's devastating to Natsu. All he's wanting is to reunite with his dad and to find information on why Igneel left him. Sorry about that, I got in a massive coughing fit. But with Igneel, he needed to tell Natsu because he did a lot of emotional damage to Natsu. Natsu just feeling abandoned and not loved was crippling to his, to his feelings, and he had to overcome a lot to get to a better place. And he did that through the help of Makarov and his friends in Fairy Tail, which was really lovely to see. But that's why I'm going to put him in the C tier. He's too much of a good dad to be down here in the D tier. I reckon a C tier is a good spot for him. Now, the reason why I skipped ahead with Igneel is because I wanted Maze Hughes and Kuma to be next to each other. The reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to show the difference here. I'm going to put Hughes in the top of Amazing Dad, and I'm going to put Kuma in... I'm going to put him in the top of S tier. Now let's talk about them. Let's talk about Hughes first. An amazing dad, a completely wrapped around his little daughter's finger. He's always there for his child and wife, even though he works insane hours. He does his best to be a loving and doting father to them. And it goes. His death goes a long way to bringing him up so high on this tier list. And you might be thinking, Jack, how can his death bring him up to an A rank amazing dad? The reason is because we don't see anything like, he doesn't sacrifice himself for his child, and nor should he have to. That shouldn't qualify for a good dad. But all we really see is him just being an incredibly doting father. Now, in terms of for anime, that's huge. We don't see that too much. But, we don't see any like super good moments in terms of like emotional, compelling moments with Shikaku and Minato. But he's just constantly there, making him even more dependable than the characters below on this list. The reason why his death impacts it so much because him dying while holding onto a photo of his wife and daughter, the blood soaking the photo, him where he needed to be home but they're waiting up on him. Then his funeral with his daughter bawling, his wife bawling, Roy Mustang with his hat tipped, saying to Riza Hawkeye that it's a strange day for rain as he's just tearing. You can tell by, and you might be thinking, Jack, that doesn't make him a great dad, but it does. We can tell by just how strong of a reaction everyone around him is having for his death, just how much of a wonderful, kind, caring, loving person that he was, and how much we see it on screen how much he loves his daughter, but how much that would have been happening off screen. I just feel good. I feel good in my heart. I feel good in my soul to put Maze Hughes that high. If you really want to be a grouchy bastard and fight me on it, hit me down in the comments and we can have a discussion about it. Kuruma being an S tier dad, and I'm going to spoil you, the best dad on this list, above even Whitebeard. I think that's fair. I personally like Whitebeard as a character more, and I'm inclined through bias to put him above Kuruma, but on paper, Kuruma is just a better dad. Spoils if you're not up there, but on it has been animated now, so I'm gonna show no mercy here. He is the stepfather of Jewelry Bonnie. He and Jewelry's Bonnie were in love. They were essentially married. She gets taken away, Bonnie's mother. She gets captured by celestial dragons. She would get I don't know the right words to use here on YouTube. She would get sexually assaulted over in Marijois. Hopefully that's a decent enough term to say on a YouTube video like this. I don't want to get too deep and dark into it, but she falls pregnant and she escapes Marijois, but she's suffering from the blue sapphire disease, which kills her. Kuma shows up after she's already dead, sees Bonnie there, takes Bonnie in and raises her as his own daughter. Even though he's not the father, or another man is, he doesn't see that. He just sees a little child who is a spitting image of, his beloved wife. And, that's a part of her, and he's going to raise her with all the love that he's capable of. And Kuma, in that massive body of his, has a lot of love he can give. He takes care of her, he plays with her, he be silly with her, he does all the things that Ishin and would do in terms of, he's there to change all the nappies, he's there to feed her, he's there to clothe her, he's there to make sure that she has a roof over her head. When her illness starts showing up, he goes above and beyond to try and treat her. He goes to island after island after island looking for all these cures only for them to ridicule Bonnie and say, get that thing away from here, there's no saving her. But he doesn't give up, he keeps trying, he eventually meets Vegapunk. And through some shenanigans with the government, the only way that, Bonnie can be cured is by Kuma sacrificing himself. Now, does he sacrifice himself in just one moment? Does he just click a button and he die for Bonnie's sake? No. They piece by piece dismantle Kuma over years. ever so slowly losing more and more and more of himself until he can hardly even recognize Bonnie. But he does it because that is his daughter and he adores her, he loves her. And Bonnie in return loves her dad. And, you know, we get the great scenes in Egghead where he resists the controls on him. At this time, he'd been turned into nothing but a mindless slave for the world nobles. And he goes to where Bonnie is and he helps her out and he protects her. And even once again, like Minato, like Thor's, he protects her post-mortem past what is ostensibly his death. Just an amazing dad. Everything we get to see with his relationship with Bonnie is beautiful. Some of Oda's best writing. And while I like Whitebeard better as a character, we have to put Kuma here as the best dad. Now we have Piccolo, sort of like a step pseudo Godfather dad, like Kuma himself. Is he a great dad or is he good for an anime dad? I'm gonna put him in great dad, and I'm probably gonna put him above Zeph and Hirolook. The reason he's above these two, they all kind of physically abuse their children. Abuse is way too strong of a word, but you know they show. Oh, excuse me. They show their love and support in some unhealthy ways. Piccolo's though is more centered around training, so it doesn't really count. But he shows through the Dragon Ball Z series that he has a better understanding on who Gohan is compared to Goku. I'm not saying that Goku doesn't love Gohan, but Piccolo is able to understand Gohan in a way that Goku for a lot of the series isn't able to see. He's always showing care. He sacrifices his life for him. You know, I'm just trying to think if that bumps him up. No, I'm gonna just leave him here because, you know, he's not technically Gohan's dad. He was actually the 20th person I put on this list just because I needed to find a 20th. 19 just didn't have as good as a ring to it for me as 20 does. But he's a pseudo dad. He does enough to be considered in this tier. He loves and cares for Gohan. He sacrifices his life for Gohan. He's always there for Gohan when Gohan needs him. He criticizes and yells at Goku for putting Gohan in harm's way. He supports Gohan's dream of becoming a scholar. Just a very, very lovely dad. I'll be real, I've watched all of Dragon Ball Z. That's all I've watched. I've never watched the original Dragon Ball. I only watched parts of Super, and I watched a couple of the movies. So there might be people that reckon he should be up in Amazing Dad. I just don't know enough about him, so I know enough about him to speak about him. I don't feel uncomfortable putting him on this list. But for right now, I'm going to put him as a great dad. If he was more involved in Gohan's life, he would potentially even be the top of great dad. But now we have Kyros from One Piece. I reckon he is an amazing dad. Nah, you know what? Putting him in an S tier dad as well. Look at Oda bringing in 3 of them for One Piece. The reason... Oh, I'm just trying to think. No, I think he should be above Thor's. A very underrated character, Kyros, I think. You don't see too many people talking about him. He was a former criminal who turned gladiator who earned the respect of King Riku. And he even married King Riku's daughter after a little bit of a, you know, enemies to lovers relationship that Oda briefly touches on. But he has a daughter, Rebecca, and it's tragic what happens. He and his wife, I forget her name, are looking. His wife stood down from her position as crown princess to be with Kyros and start a family with him. And they live in a little shack out in the meadows, and they just have a very content and happy life. But Doflamingo comes in, he does what Doflamingo does, and he turns it into a shit show. Kyros confronts him because he tries to protect Dressrosa, and Sugar turns... I know, Sugar. If you haven't even watched One Piece, you must be thinking, Jack, what the hell are you talking about? Sugar is a character and one of the executives of the Doflamingo, the Don Quixote family, and she has the hobby fruit, devil fruit, and she turns Kyros into a toy. She turns him into a soldier toy. And by doing that, everyone around him forgets who he was. It's a yes, I know. It's a very, very broken power. It also grants her eternal youth for whatever reason. Oda was really having fun making that fruit. But no one remembers who he is. But that doesn't stop Kiros from being a great dad. He goes to Rebecca in toy form and looks after her. Once again, does all those fatherly things, takes care of her day to day, makes sure that she's fed and clothed and has the roof over her head. He also trains her how to fight. Because he knows that in the country that they're living in with Doflamingo in charge of everything, that Rebecca is going to need to know how to defend herself. And he can see from Rebecca's fighting style that she's not someone that was made to hurt people. So he's even inquisitive enough to know his daughter that well that he convinces her a new fighting style, the back to the water dance technique and all that stuff, where she uses counter-attacking and deflecting for her strongest abilities. And he stays with her whole life, even as a toy, even as Rebecca is just ridiculing him because she doesn't know any better. She's just a young kid at this time, and she misses her family, and this is just a toy from what she thinks of. But Kiros doesn't let that get to him. He stays with her, he stays training her, he stays loving her. He eventually turns back into a human. Everyone gets some memories of him back. It's a beautiful moment. He then gets to fight Diamante with Rebecca and get revenge for Rebecca's mother, because Diamante was the one that killed her. And that it's just a lovely, lovely moment there. He's a character that doesn't get spoken about enough. Kiros is one of those really, really underrated side characters that deserves way, way more love. But that's the list, ladies and gentlemen. What do we all think? Are we happy with how we've gone down here? I feel like the best dads are a little bit more hard to rank. For whatever reason, positive attributes are harder to rank than negative attributes. I wonder if that says something about the world that we're living in. But I like that it's, there's quite a few characters in each tier here. I like that it's not all just one tier like it looked like in the beginning. I like the kind of understanding we came to with Shikaku and Cobra especially. That was a lot of fun just talking myself into those two. And, Kurumura, unquestionably, I think is number one. Love Whitebeard. Kiros and Thors is completely underrated. If you wanted to chuck Minato and Adam up there, I could understand it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun making this video. I'm feeling refreshed after all that negativity with the worst dads. But guys, if you want to see any more tier ranks on this channel, if you want to see me talk about anything specific, whether it's anime or movies and TV shows, just let me know down in the comments. If you've liked this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And everyone, have a lovely night.